Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Stable. Today I am joined with Susie, also known as In the Saddle Susie. If you haven't heard of Susie before, you definitely need to go across and check her out. At the moment, she is recording her journey of getting back into horses across on her Instagram.
Yes.
She's also a PA and a groom, and you have your own business, loads of stuff going on in your life. So I'm so excited to dive into all of that today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I feel very privileged, and I'm also hoping there aren't too many horsey questions because I'm not sure I'll be able to answer a lot of those.
I don't think you're giving yourself credit
I'm the least horsiest person you will have on this podcast.
I want to start off by speaking about how you got into horses.
Sure. So I've always been a massive animal lover. Like from a little girl, I always remember loving cats and dogs and horses and just every animal, like guinea pigs, anything like that. And I think when I was younger, they used to have like a lot of village fetes. And at the village fetes, you would be able to do pony rides, and they were like 50p. And I would be the girl that would be, I want a pony ride, I want a pony ride. I don't want the sweets, I just want a pony ride. And after about 3 or 4 goes, I remember my parents being like, right, you literally can't have, you need to let other children have a go. Do you know what I mean? And then what I would do is kind of use my initiative and I'd say to my parents, well, why don't you go off and then I'll stay here and help the people. And then I would get like free pony rides at the end. So I used to always be that kid. And then when I was younger, I used to get looked after by my nan quite a lot because my parents, they broke up. And I remember her saying to me once, what do you want to do today? It was like a weekend. And I was like, oh, I'd really like to go down to the local riding centre. So she was like, well, if you phone up and organise it, then that's fine, you can go down and do it. And I was really young at the time and I did it. I phoned the place and I was like, oh, can I come down today? And they used to do things where you'd go down, you'd pay like £5 and you could stay there for the whole day.
Oh, wow.
And I remember going down and just staying there and being like, I love this. And then the bug started. And I would say to my mum or my dad, oh, I'd really like to go and do horse riding. And
What
of course,
age were you at this point?
Oh my gosh, I reckon I was probably... It's very hard to tell because I'm 42 now and I can't really remember. But I think I must have been maybe 8, not massively, maybe 8 or 9. And the bug started. I was like, oh, can I go down and, go to local riding centre? And they said yes, but I couldn't go down a lot because they didn't have the funds to kind of fund and do that. But I, like I say, very quickly realised you could go down and as long as you were willing and showed you were willing to help, you could go down there for free. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did. And I did like little gymkhanas and things like that. And I remember the longer I was there, I unfortunately had, I suppose like the downside of like the horsey world sometimes. There was like a group of girls down there. I remember it was 4 girls and they weren't very nice to me. Mm-hmm. But I still continued to go down there. But I remember this one time in a gymkhana, it was the first time I was ever going to jump. And I was really nervous anyway. And they weren't very nice to me before it was going to happen. And of course, I think with my nerves and that happening, I kind of went up to this jump and I fell off. And literally from that day, I never went back.
Oh, that's such a shame.
And it's really sad.
Yeah, that is such a shame. But I think the guys watching this will probably know this, but the reason I started my brand Atlantic Harmony and why it's called Atlantic Harmony, a lot of people would think the harmony part is because you work in harmony with your horse.
Sure.
Which it is, but the other side of it is I noticed as well at a young age that the equestrian community sometimes isn't always the nicest place to be. Don't get me wrong, there is loads of amazing people out there, but there is the odd couple that ruin it, and I wanted to, I'm not going to change it overnight, I'm not going to do huge things, but I'd love to play a part in kind of making the community a bit nicer in the equestrian world.
So, I love that.
Yeah, so hearing like a story like that, like I wish I had been a brand at that time and had been able to like help do stuff with
help people, because it literally stopped me from that age.
Which is such a shame.
And then I never ever got back into horses until I was 21, which is just sad, isn't it? Because I look now and I think, I enjoyed it so much. I could have done so much. When I look now with like being involved with Tina and Emily, you know, I could be doing that now, and you know, it is sad, but you can't go back in time. So we need to look at the positives. I feel like I'm quite a positive person. I like to look at the positives. So I guess then that leads me on to when I was like 21, and I lived in a place called Perranporth. I don't know if anybody knows it. And I used to work in a local pub. And just up like a little lane by the side of the pub was a horse yard. And you know, you get that smell of horse yards and horses. I remember coming out of work and being like, oh my God, you know, like when it just takes you back.
Yeah.
And the local farmer who ran the horse yard, he used to come to the pub all the time. And so I got to know him a little bit. And he was like, well, why don't you come up and just like look at some of the horses and I can like tell you a little bit about them. And I jumped at the chance. I was like, absolutely, I would love to. So I remember meeting him on a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. I remember it now. And he took me up to the yard. And I think it was then I was just like, oh my God, like you just realise how much you missed it and you miss being around the horses. And he showed me all around, and there was this one field where there was 3 horses, and one of them was a coloured cob. And he said to me, now that coloured cob has been down here for 6 months because it was an ex-riding school horse, and it's got a condition called navicular. So it can't be ridden anymore. But I don't know what the lady wants to do with it anymore, and, you know, it just stays in the field. Well, that was me done. I was like, what do you mean she doesn't know what she wants to do with it? And he was like, well, I don't know, but, you know. And I was like, well, does she need someone to come and look after it? Well, you know, it could do with a little bit of TLC, I'm sure. I can ask her for you. So that's what he did. He asked her for me. And I was bear in mind at this point, I knew nothing. I'd only done a brief time at a riding school as a child, didn't know anything about horses, didn't know how to ride really, didn't understand what leg on meant. I didn't really understand any of it because I was so young, never got into it that much. But I just felt so sorry for this horse, and I was like, I need to look after it. So like I say, he contacted the lady and she was like, well, yeah, she can go and groom it and do what she wants. Oh my God, he was called Paddy. And he was awful. I would go and try and get him out of the field, and he used to barge me against the gate. He was so rude. He was terrible. Like, I can't tell you the amounts of times I had bruises down me because he was just so strong. Yeah, he was a little nightmare. And then the opportunity came up where she called me, and I'd been down there a few times, and she called me and she said, look, you know, I'm not going to do anything with him, so would you like the opportunity to buy him? So even though he was a nightmare, I was like, yeah, of course I'll buy him, you know. I was like, what are you going to do with him otherwise? She went, oh, I don't really know. Well, I couldn't handle that. I was like, yeah, of course I'll buy him. And I think I bought him. I look back at it now, and I paid £400 for him. That was quite a lot back then for a horse that had navicular that you couldn't really do anything with apart from lightly hack. So anyway, I ended up buying him. He came with everything, like his saddle and his bridle. And I just literally went down. I used to just go down and groom him. And I did hack him. I can't even believe I did that now. Like, when I know so much about horses now, I didn't really know this horse. I was getting on him, hacking him out. He literally took off with me. I think there was like one canter path where he knew the way home. So he would walk down the hill with me. He would get to like a riverbed, and then he'd be like, right, we're going up here. He would canter back, and he would literally canter back to the yard. And that used to be my ride. Like, it was that. So, yeah, like as time went on, I obviously built a relationship with him, and I will never forget. I remember going to the yard one day, and I went to get him out, and he wasn't his usual bargy self. He was really polite, and I was like, oh. And it changed from that moment. He was like, you're my mummy. And it really I get really emotional about it now, but how lovely is that? Like, he went from this awful bargy horse to being like, oh, you're my mum, and I feel safe with you now. And I think now he just wasn't, because he was like unloved and just left in a field. I think knowing what I know about horses now, how much of an acceptance that is. They're like, you're my caregiver, you're the person who's going to look after me and groom me and feed me and all of that stuff. And from that day, he was an angel. And yeah, I had him, I think, for about, I don't even think it was a year. And then one day I got a phone call to say he'd passed away in the field. And I'm going to try not to get emotional about it because I've got so much to thank him for. So I had that awful phone call. I went to the yard. I went to say goodbye to him. And the farmer was amazing. He let me bury him in the field because I think I'm just like that. I don't think I could have coped with, it was such a shock anyway, I don't think I could have coped with anything else happening to him or going anywhere else. So I'm super grateful that I know he's up there in a field somewhere. And he taught me so much. If anything, maybe not the riding side of things, but if anything, just how much an animal can love you and you can love an animal. So that was that. And I was so heartbroken that I couldn't even face riding. Or the girls at the yard at the time were great. They were like, come and look after my horse. And I did do that for a little bit. But I just couldn't face the heartbreak. Like, I was just so upset. And he was like my little best friend, you know? You get that relationship with horses, don't you? Mm-hmm. So fast forward to when I was 39 now. Yeah. So we've gone from 21 to 39. And I went to Emily's wedding because I am married to Emily's cousin, Simon.
Yeah.
So I went to the wedding and I knew Emily was riding her horse down the aisle. Like, I knew that was going to happen. So I was like all excited because I was like, oh, you know, like the horse is coming down. And yeah, it was just an exciting time. And I did not have a relationship with Emily at this time. I knew of her. She'd be at family gatherings and things like that. But, you know, I think we'd like gone to a wedding and stuff and had a few drinks together and a bit of a dance. But, you know, apart from that, I didn't have a relationship with her. And I can't tell you, Megan, when I saw her coming down the aisle on Sprite, I was like, oh my God. Like, you know, when you just look at a horse and you're just like, and she was so well behaved, she was beautiful, and I was just like, oh my God. So it was just amazing, like the whole thing. And yeah, the wedding day was just so nice. And Sprite was at the top of, it was like you walked down the steps to go where Emily got married. It was an outside wedding. Right. And then Sprite was kind of left at the top. So after the wedding, the actual ceremony, anyone could go and see Sprite, and loads of people were doing that. And I went up and I was just like, oh my God, my spark in my soul kind of just came alive again. Oh, it's really emotional. Hang on.
You're okay, take your time.
Right, I'm back in the room, guys. So yeah, kind of like my heart, my spark in my soul came alive again. And literally, I think that was, obviously Emily got married on the Saturday. I think by the Tuesday I'd messaged Emily and I was like, hi, would it be all right if I came to ride out on Sprite with you? Because obviously I knew Emily had another horse. And she came back straight away and she was like, yeah, of course you can. When can you do? And then that was it. I went out on Sprite with Emily and it was just brilliant. I just remember like walking down that lane, the feeling of you know, like when you hear the clip-clops on the floor and just that feeling. And it was so odd because I am I don't want to say scared, but I'm like, well, I am scared. I'm scared of coming off all the time, which you'll get to know about me. But you just feel so safe on Sprite. She just looked after me and she was the perfect horse. And they say everything happens for a reason, don't they? She was the perfect horse to get back into my riding journey. And that was I think it was the very beginning of June. Emily got married at the end of May. And I said to Emily, she was like, oh, what's your goals? What kind of like do you want to do? And I was like, I'd like to jump by December. She like looked at me and she was like, oh my God, we can easily do that. Like we can, and I'm thinking, oh God, the last time I jumped that gymkhana where I came off. And I think it might have even been July, I was jumping a mini course in her field. And it just, like I say, just reignited that love for me again. And that's how I got back into the saddle and got back into riding. And yeah, I just built so much. She just reinstalled the trust and I built so much. I built my confidence back up with her again. Yes, I've fallen off her. I've probably fallen off her more times than what Emily's ever fallen off her in the time she's owned her. But I wasn't scared, you know, like I didn't get scared on her because I think you just ride regularly and you build it up. And Emily has been massive for my confidence, like massive. Don't get me wrong, she makes me do some things sometimes that are questionable. And I go, oh, I don't want to canter today. And then the next thing I'm cantering. But yeah, it's just been absolutely brilliant. And following on from that, I remember Emily saying to me one day, she was like, oh, are you actually free on Wednesday evening? And I was like, yeah. She was like, you couldn't come to a horse show with me, could you? And I'm like, okay, well, what do I need to do? The panic automatically starts then. And she was like, you don't need to do anything. I just need you to come with me. So I was like, okay then. She's like, and if you can film for me, that would be great. Because she knew that I used to do a bit of vlogging. Pre-COVID, I did used to do that. I don't do it much anymore, obviously just feature on the girls' channels. But yeah, so obviously I know how to work a camera and stuff like that. So we were going to go to this horse show. And I remember it was the day of the show and I'm thinking, actually, I don't have anything to wear. Like, what do you even wear to a horse show? I'm that, like, beginner to all of this. I have no idea. And when we were down at the stables, I remember seeing Emily and she had a toggy coat and toggy, like, joppers. So I was like, well, obviously I need that. So I went to the country store and I knew where they sold toggy. And I was like, right, I'll just buy a coat, a top, and then some joppers. And that's what I wore. And yeah, obviously I fitted in because everyone was wearing stuff like that. But I knew nothing. I mean, it was a show jumping competition. I knew nothing. I didn't have an idea that you even needed to set a horse up. I was like, oh, well, don't you just go when the horse just jumps? I had no idea about strides and I still don't much now, but, you know, I had no idea about anything like that. So I literally was starting at the beginning.
Mm. And what's that been like? Like, especially on the riding side of things, a lot of people say it's like riding a bike, you get straight back into it. How did you find it?
Not at all. No, because I knew nothing. I literally was a happy hacker, sat on a horse. I knew nothing about leg, nothing about how you even really work the reins. I literally knew nothing. I knew nothing about putting your weight into one side of the saddle to get the horse to go right or left. So I was honestly, that's how beginner I was with it all, literally.
But since then, you've done so many things. You did some in-hand showing. Speak me through that.
Yeah. I think we need to make it clear here that I never, ever want to be an Aventor. That's not my goal with it.
What would your goal be?
I think I would like to gain... I'm definitely a happy hacker, and I know that there's a lot of other people out there like me. Since obviously I've got obviously my Instagram account, I get so many people like direct message me and go, you're such a breath of fresh air because I'm exactly like you. I'm 45 and I'm just getting back in the saddle and I'm worried, you know, but you're giving me confidence. So that's quite nice. So yeah, I never ever want to be an eventer, but I do want to just be like a happy hacker, I think, and know how to trot confidently, is that the question you asked me?
Yeah.
Oh, good, sorry. I thought I was going off piste. Know how to trot confidently, know how to canter confidently. I think my downfall is I'm always worried I'm going to fall off. And I'm worried that the horse is going to spook. So I think that's my downfall with my riding. And I think that's what holds me back. I think I'm probably very capable of, if I really put my mind to it, going into a dressage arena and doing a walk and trot dressage test. I'm probably really capable of that. But I think the thing that worries me is just the falling off. And I don't want to do anything to harm the horse. Like, I'd be absolutely mortified if I did anything to harm a horse or mess up its education or anything like that. Like, I would feel mortified. So yeah, so I think I just want to learn how to do the basics, but do the basics well, like well enough to hack out on my own and stuff like that. And I had that with Sprite, but obviously I haven't had that since, really. But we're working on it. Mm-hmm. We're working on it. Yeah, so obviously I've been in-hand showing.
Yes.
Which was great.
Speak me through that whole day.
Oh my gosh. So it started with one of our friends that we've met, or that I've met through riding. She's called Jamie Lee, and she is absolutely lovely. You know, sometimes when you meet someone in life,
yeah,
and you're just like, I love her.
Yeah.
She's like that. Yeah, absolutely love her. And she gave us the idea to go in-hand showing. And she came over to Emily's yard and she gave me a lesson. She was like, right, this is what you do. And am I like a bit of a boffin maybe? I like to research these things. So I was like looking at YouTube videos because I want to go in there and get it right. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say I'm competitive as such, or I didn't think I was. I just wanted to go in there and be like, I just don't want to look silly. I want to know what I'm doing and where I need to go and where I need to stand. So it was really weird having the camera, I suppose, on me for a day, because I've been so used to being with the girls and going eventing and being the one behind the camera most of the time. It was so odd, like having my own video. So it was everything from getting Spritey ready, and like plaiting her and like giving her a bath and yeah, just making sure she was like tip top to go into that ring. And she came out looking beautiful. Honestly, she looked so beautiful. So yeah, I felt quite confident until I got there. And then Emily kept saying to me, those nerves will come, those nerves will come. And I was like, no, I'm going to be okay. And honestly, I got there. And as soon as I got out of the car, I was like, oh my God, this must be how you feel like eventing. I was like shaking. I was like so nervous. But I think when you get to that point, you have to be like, do you know, I have done all my homework. I have researched what I need to do. And I think you just have to let those nerves, it's good to be nervous, but you've got to have confidence in your ability. You've got to be like, you know, I've done the hard work and whatever happens, happens. So that's kind of what I did. So we got there, and Tina was there as well with Banksy. And there had been kind of slight mention before about, oh, there's an in-hand showing class that Banksy could enter. And, you know, maybe I'd do that, I don't know. And we got there and it literally was right, do you want to do this? And I thought, oh, okay. So then I ended up taking Banksy in, ended up winning with Banksy. I didn't realise what was happening because I suppose Jamie Lee had never kind of said to me, if you win, this is what will happen. Because I don't think anyone thought it was going to happen. So I go in with Banksy, I win this class, and the man who, I cannot remember what his official title is, but I think he's like the assistant to the judge. He was like, did you say this was your first time showing? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, I don't actually think you realise, but you've won. And I was like, oh my God. And the girls were on the sidelines going, I don't think she realises she's won. So that was great. And then obviously when I went in with Sprite, I felt a lot more confident then, because I'm like, oh, I've already done it once. And she went lovely for me. She literally, she went lovely. I was under strict instructions that I couldn't let her dawdle. Like, I literally had to be very confident with her and be like, you are going to trot. And she did. She was really, really good. And we came 5th in that class, but we had some lovely comments from the judges, or from the judge. She was so lovely. Obviously, Sprite is 30. So, you know, in a 30-year-old, you're going to have a tiny little bit of stiffness. And that was the feedback. She was like, oh, she's just tiny little bit stiff. But she said if she didn't have that, she would have placed very high. So I'm like, I'm taking that as a win then. So, yeah, it was just a great day. And I really enjoyed it, probably because I didn't need to ride. But, yeah, it was just lovely.
So do you think the in-hand showing is something that you would like to do again?
Can I be really honest?
Yeah.
I feel like I've gone in there and I've won. So now I'm scared to go back. So
Don't need to go again.
I'm like, I've done that now. That's my showing career over. Would I like to do it again? Yes, I'd like to do it with Dinks. I've got a little special relationship with little Dinks, Tina's little Shetland. So yeah, I would like to do it again with Dinks, and maybe we will do something over Christmas with him. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously Sprite isn't my horse. It was a very hot day, so I'm not sure. Did she enjoy it, Em? I'm not sure. Was it a bit hot for her? Not sure. But yeah, so definitely with Dinks, I'd like to go back and do that. And like I mentioned, the girl, Jamie Lee, she actually does a lot of showing. So she has tried to get me to go with her a number of times since, which I might do. But life is just so busy with eventing. And I also help Emily and Tina and Hannah. Do you know, well, you've had No Horse Han on the podcast. So I help them with their business emails, their brand deals. So life is just very busy. It seems to have got very, very busy for me. So definitely with Dinks, but maybe not like a more permanent thing. But never say never. Never say never.
Do you have any other highlight moments that maybe you've had with Sprite?
Oh God, you're going to get me crying again. I look like Tina crying all the time. Highlight moments with Sprite, I think I'm just so lucky. I think things happen for a reason, like I said, and I think she came back into my life for a reason, and that was to gain my confidence again with the riding. And my highlight moment with Sprite is definitely, I mean, it's showing, because yeah, I just really enjoyed that day. And I think another highlight moment with her was one of the last times I rode her. She took off with me down this country lane when Emily was on holiday. So I'd like built this confidence up to go and ride Sprite on my own. And I thought, we'll just go down that canter path, like it'll be fine. And Emily used to say to me, now there's going to be times where you don't have brakes, because when Sprite goes, she goes, and literally you don't have anything. Now, I'd not experienced that until this point, when I'm on my own going down this canter path. I have never, I was scared, but I was also like, she's loving it. And I couldn't stop anyway. So I
May as well enjoy it.
Might as well enjoy it. So yeah, I think that's probably like a highlight moment for me, that I was scared to do that, but she obviously, you know, felt safe enough to take me, and I felt safe enough on her. So yeah, that's probably a little highlight moment with little Spritey.
That is lovely.
Yay.
And then going forward, what is your plans with horses?
Going forward, obviously I do a lot of grooming. Since that first show jumping competition that I went with Emily, it kind of then led on to, do you want to come to an event with me? Again, I knew, God, I cannot tell everyone at home how much I knew nothing. And I remember we went to that first event and I was like, you're going to have to tell me what happens here. So I had a crash course in the car. This is what we do. We do dressage. And it went as basic as that. We do dressage, we do show jumping, then we do cross country. And I was like, well, what's that? I literally had no idea. Like, what's the point of dressage? What do you do in a show jumping round? What do you do in a cross country round? And I had to learn, like, there's times and you've got to go over different jumps. And then in a dressage, you know, they're trying to establish different movements. I literally went from the beginning. And I was so fortunate that I really want to learn. I feel like that about myself. I really am invested in learning, and I'm invested in Emily's journey with her eventing. So I'm lucky enough that I get to go to a lot of lessons. And I always remember Emily saying to me, just come to lessons because you'll learn so much on the ground. I remember going to that first lesson and the instructor was like, right, you need to leg yield. And I'm like, what is she talking about? That had clueless. But as time's gone on, I'm now like 18 months into it, and I've just learnt so much, and very fortunate enough to meet some fantastic names in the horse industry as well. And again, I had no idea who a lot of these people were until I got told their background, and then I'd research them and I'd be like, oh my God, actually, I'm going to like an Olympian's yard. Like, this is massive, you know? And I remember going to meet Mary King, and she was just, oh my God, she's the loveliest lady. And I thought to myself before we went, I didn't tell Emily this, but I thought, she's got an Olympic medal. I need to ask her to hold this Olympic medal because I'm never going to get this opportunity again to do it. And yeah, so like little things like that. And I literally am learning from the top. And even now, it's a constant learning. It's a constant learning curve. You're constantly learning. And the grooming, I have fallen in love with. Like going eventing, I love everything about eventing. I love supporting your rider, looking after the horse, making sure Emily's got everything she needs, thinking ahead. So thinking, okay, we might need that. Shall we take that? Being able to tell her that. And just, you know, like even down to printing her number. Like, I know it sounds silly, but like I really enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
I've met some lovely people, and I'm pleased to report that I haven't had a bad experience.
That's amazing.
So since that time of being a child, everyone's been so lovely. Like, no question is ever a silly question. I've been up to Alex Bragg's yard with Tina, and he answers questions for me and he tells me things, and I'm thinking now I know, like, God, he's like a big top rider, not knowing who he even was before I went there. And now I know about all the different levels you can do. Like, he's big, you know? So yeah, everyone's just been so lovely and so supportive of my journey, and continues to be supportive of my journey. And I think that's what's given me the confidence to kind of continue with it, really. So yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Atlantic Harmony Equestrian, where clothes are more than just what you wear, they're how you express yourself. At Atlantic Harmony, we're not just another logo. We're building a community of equestrians who believe in connection, support, and making a difference. Our high-quality, stylish apparel is designed for riders who value both function and fashion, while supporting sustainable practices. Join a brand with a purpose. Visit atlanticharmonyequestrian.co.uk and be part of a community where style meets empowerment. Atlantic Harmony, where riders support riders. My next question. Now, if you guys haven't seen this episode, we have filmed an episode with Emily, EMD Eventing. I'll link it below. and I didn't know whether to ask this question to her or to you.
Or me, answer it to me. Is it juicy? I'll answer anything you want. Ask the juicy questions about Emily.
We put a question box up for both of you.
Oh.
And this question got asked more so in your question box, so I decided to pop it in this episode.
Okay.
And it is, are you going to continue riding Sprite? What's happening with Sprite? That kind of stuff.
Okay, so I'm going to compose myself here. Spritey is... Well, Spritey kind of did retire. And I'm kind of glad it happened the way it happened. And I think Emily probably helped towards this, but she perhaps wouldn't admit it to me at the time. But I think it kind of just happened very naturally, where Emily was like, no, we're not going to ride Sprite this week. We're not going to ride Sprite this week. So it kind of happened like that. And I'm super glad it did, because I think if Emily had said to me, this is going to be your last ride on Sprite, I would have just lost it. I think so. I'm really glad that it happened that way. So Sprite, and I say Sprite was retired, but unfortunately Sprite has been escaping from her stable. So we both feel like it's a sign of Sprite going, Mum, I'm bored. I want to go out for a little hack or a little ride. So what we do now is Emily rides Sprite once or twice a week, and I started riding Addy. And, you know, I actually think Addy is like a Sprite. I think I could very easily, as much as I love Addy already, I think I could very easily fall in love a big time with riding Addy. She's such a good girl. Like, honestly, she's so good. She's so polite. And I've been privileged enough to be part of Addy's journey now for 18 months. So when I first met Addy, she was young. She was a little bit bolshy, you know, as they are when they're youngsters. And like, she frightened me a little bit. I have to be honest. Like, I remember I would never really hold her on my own. I'd never hand graze her because I'd be worried that she would go off and do something with me. And I'd be like, oh my God, what's happened? But she's such a lovely girl. Like, she really has. I remember someone saying to Emily, when you turn her out at the end of last year, so when you turn her out at the end of 2023 and give her a couple of weeks off, she'll come out this season a different horse. And she has. She is just adorable. Don't get me wrong, she's quite strong-willed. Like, if she sees a piece of grass, she's going to that piece of grass. But she's so polite. She's just so lovely. And yeah, she's just, I definitely think I could very much fall in love with her, but obviously, you know, that might be 15 years down the line when she's my little happy hacker. I'm not letting Emily sell her, ever. So, yeah.
The other big question that we got asked a lot is, will you ever get your own?
Oh, do you know what? I did a Q&A on my Instagram once, and I got asked this question so much. As much as, like, I would love to have my own horse, my life is so busy. I obviously do the riding outside of, I actually have my own fitness business. So I do the riding outside of that. And now I do the brand deals, and I've taken on the emails and the stuff for Emily, Hannah, and sometimes Tina, not all the time, but sometimes that. I just don't think I would, if I had a horse, I'd want to put 110% into it. And I just don't think I would have the time. However, I am so lucky with the girls that I can ride whenever I want. I really enjoy going and just, it sounds a bit odd, but I really enjoy going out and mucking out. I enjoy that hour and a half down at the yard, peaceful, being around the ponies, just making sure they're fed properly and just like looked after and groomed. And I do that. I ring Tina up sometimes. I'm like, can I come down and muck out for you today? She's like, yes, you weirdo. So I do that a lot. So I feel like I have the pony love in my life again, which I'm so grateful to the girls for. But I'm never saying never. But at the moment, I think the answer would be no. That's my answer.
I feel like everyone's going to be so disappointed with
Oh,
that
do you? Oh, no. But if anyone knows of a Sprite, tap me up.
To speak about kind of like you mentioned, you do the brand emails and stuff for Emily and Tina, and sometimes No Horse Han and stuff.
Yeah.
How did you get into that? How are you finding that?
So I got into that. I obviously was helping Emily a lot last year and getting into the grooming, and we got to something called Vlogmas. And honestly, I cannot tell you how much work goes into videos, content creation, and you don't realise it until you're actually in it. There's so many, and so much perception, I think, that people are like, oh, they get that for free, or people get that for free. Mm-hmm. And I remember going eventing with Emily, maybe, I think it was the third time I went eventing with her. And there was this is probably the worst experience I've had. There was a lady that was like, oh, my daughter watches your friend. And I was like, oh, right, okay. And she went, I bet you she gets everything for free. And then I thought, how do I respond to that? And I was like, oh, right. I'm like, oh, I just don't know, because I don't know. I just freaked out a little bit. But I thought, people must see that. They must be like, oh, so-and-so gets that. But it's so much work and commitment and time. And I keep saying this to people, but anyone can do what the girls do. They have a phone. Anybody can do it. If you really want to do it, then do it. But you just got to be committed, and you've got to be passionate about it. I think if you're not passionate about it, it's very difficult to be on camera as much as they are and doing what they do. You've got to have passion and the commitment. So I remember going back to the Vlogmas. Emily's like, right, we're going to do X amount of videos throughout December. So I was like, okay. And it just got so overwhelming for her. And I remember saying to her, look, I'm not doing anything. I can help you with your emails. And she was like, no, I don't want any help, because Emily is so sweet. She literally will not put anything on you. She's like, no, I don't want any help. I'm like, I'd love to help you. Please help me. Oh, are you sure? It took me so long to get her to get me to help her. And I just fell in love with it, because I have my own business myself, and I just really enjoy the business side of things. So it kind of started from there, really. And it was only supposed to be for December, and now we're nearly a year on from there, and I do it all the time. And then obviously, we know Hannah. So I'd reached out to Hannah and just said, do you need any help? And now I do Hannah's for her. And then obviously I occasionally help Tina as well. But yeah, I love it. I love the helping the girls. I love building the relationship with the brands. The brands, honestly, they are just lovely. They are really nice. And when you've got the same goals, then it just works really, really well. Yeah. And yeah, I just love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Amazing. I want to speak about your socials.
Oh, yeah.
Because you do your own socials, and you vlogged beforehand, which I feel like a lot of people aren't going to know. Can we speak about your YouTube channel?
Oh, wow. I don't know if I should say.
Do not want to speak about it. We can cut it if you don't want to speak
it's all fine. It's all fine. My own YouTube channel that I had. So I absolutely love watching YouTube videos. I love watching vloggers. I don't watch TV. Mm-hmm. I watch YouTube videos. It's very, very rare that I'll sit down and watch television. And I have always been, even from a child, I used to do, back in the day, you used to have really big camcorders. Yeah. And I'm talking they used to go over your shoulder. And I remember going to Disneyland Paris once with my dad and my stepmum, and I recorded the whole thing. It's still on a video now. And I literally vlogged it, back then. And they put it onto a video for me. And I've just always been like that.
Yeah.
I've always really been into amateur dramatics and singing and performing and things like that. So I think it was just when vlogging became a thing, I was like, oh, I really want to do that myself. And that's just how I got into it. So I used to upload videos onto my YouTube channel. I have a business called Keep Fit Cornwall. So outside of what you know me for with the horses, I'm a fitness instructor. I've had my own business now for I want to say it's year 13 now that I've been doing keep fit classes in the community. So it kind of went alongside that. I was like, right, I've got an Instagram and I want to just do a YouTube channel. And I attempted myself to do Vlogmas one year, and I wanted a vlog every day for 25 days. And I think I got to day 11 and I was like, I can't do this anymore. It was so stressful. And I was doing everything myself, all the filming, all the editing. So yeah, I kind of, when COVID hit, for a lot of people, I think I just didn't do it. You know, I just got out of it, really. And I'm not saying I will never do it again. Tina's always saying to me, you need to do your YouTube channel. You need to do your YouTube channel. And I'm not saying never say never, but I feel like I get my YouTube fix now through the girls. So I can dip in and out of their YouTube videos. Obviously, I film the majority of Emily's videos for her. And quite a lot of Tina's now. And yeah, I can just make an appearance here, there and everywhere. And then I do a little bit of editing for Emily as well. So I love editing videos. So I get like my fix of that. But I feel like that's enough for me at the moment, especially with everything else that I've got going on with my business and things.
Yeah. Do you enjoy featuring in the girls' content?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I really love it. And I do think... I was a bit scared at the beginning because I was like, I know nothing. Like I've said to you, I know nothing. And I should imagine everyone that watches their channels knows loads about horses. But actually they don't. There's a lot of people out there like me who I might ask a question. Emily always says to me, no question is ever a silly question. So I might like ask a question and I'm like, actually, no, I'm now going to ask it on your vlog, because I bet you there's other people out there that are just like me, which obviously we've proved from Instagram, you know, with the direct messages and stuff that I get. So yeah, I absolutely love it. And I'm so thankful to the opportunities that, I mean, yes, I might not know sometimes who the people are until I research it, but I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I get to go along with them. And they are so welcoming to me. They invite me to everything, and it's lovely. And eventing, especially with the eventing, it can be very tense, I think, as a groom, because you have to deal with every emotion. And what I've learned about horse riders is, and especially people that event, and not just Emily and Tina, they give themselves a hard time. You know, like everything is never, you know, you could go in and do a really good dressage test and I bet you wouldn't get someone come out and go, oh, that was really good. You know, it's always like, oh, I could have done that better, or I could have done that better. You know, so eventing, I think you have to have quite a good relationship with somebody, because you're in close proximity with somebody. You are, you know, you're there emotionally. You're their emotional support when things go good and when things go bad. So yeah, I love it. And I think what you see is what you get. I have had that a couple of times. People go, oh, are they really like that in real life? Yeah. What you see is what you get. There isn't any, oh, we're just going to play up for the camera, or we're going to do this. It is what you see, you know, on video is what you see in real life. So, yeah.
I would like to dive into your business a little bit deeper.
Oh, okay.
And speak me through how you started it.
So I was a overweight, bullied child. I've always had a big bottom. Can I say that word on your podcast? I've always had a big bottom. I've always been a very hippie child. And I love food. I mean, don't we all love food? I just love food, and I love the wrong food. And I gradually, like I said, I did a lot of amateur dramatics when I was a child. So I think being on the stage has always kind of been in my blood, and entertaining and music. I absolutely love music. My family were very musical. My uncle was the bandsmaster of the Her Majesty's Royal Marines. So I've always been very musical, always had music in my blood, always been dancing and stuff like that. So when I was at school, I was probably a size 20, I want to say. And I wanted to be a fitness instructor. And in the school PE lessons, I always got drafted to the front. Back in those days, your PE teacher didn't really care. Back in those days, it was like they would just sit on the side and, you know, it would be like, oh, who wants to do something in the lesson today? And they'd put like a cassette on, play some music, and then I'd be at the front dancing around doing aerobics with my class. So I've always kind of wanted to do something like that. And my mum actually, the other week, randomly found a letter that I'd written to my friend, my school friend, and in it says, when I'm older, I want to be a fitness instructor. So yeah, I've always wanted to do it. Didn't have the confidence because I was a bigger girl. And then I went on a weight loss journey and I lost 5 stone. And the day I got down to my goal weight, I went and signed up to be a fitness instructor because I wanted to create a fitness environment for people that was safe, where people weren't judged. And I've been that girl. I've been the girl at the back of the class scared. I've been the bigger girl. I know exactly how it feels. So I wanted to create this environment for people to be like, actually, you're okay. We're all in this together. Let's have some fun. You know, let's not take ourselves too seriously. And literally from day one, I trained to be the aerobics instructor, and when I qualified, I got offered a job at the leisure centre there and then. And then I set up my own classes, and literally from that day of setting up my classes, they've always been really busy. And I think if you're really passionate about something, it comes across, and I think you'll always do well if you're really passionate and you work hard. And I've always had that instilled into me when I've had a business. And I do that now. You know, I think I never ever watch what other people do in my industry because I think I never want to copy someone or anything. I just keep my head down. I do what I'm passionate about and I work hard, and good things have come out of it. Yeah. And now I help 150 people a week achieve their health and fitness goals. I hire village halls and we just dance around for an hour, and it's great. I love it. Absolutely love it. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's always, you know, I'm sure there will become a day where I'm too old to jump around, but then I'll just go into Pilates or yoga or something like that. But at the minute, I just jump around.
Yeah. What has been the biggest challenges about setting up your business?
Oh, that's a really good question. The biggest challenges. Oh my gosh. I have to really think about that. Oh, I think when you set up your own business, you have to put in the hours. And at the time when I set up my business, I worked for the local council. So I ran my business alongside my job, so then I could leave my job and do my passion full time. And I think one of the biggest challenges was the fact that I would hardly get any sleep, because I would have to, you can't just set up a business, and running fitness classes isn't just about, and it's like with any business, it's not just about the physical doing of it. That's probably 25% of it. 75% of it is everything that comes with it: the communication, the text messages, the advertising, being the DJ, doing the accounts, reinvesting into your business, coming up with the ideas, setting up a clothing range, you know. So I think that was probably my biggest challenge. I survived off hardly any sleep for a very long time. But it's been worth it. Now I'm 13 years into it. I can not relax a little bit more, but things that I've put into place work really well. And you're always going to get things that you put into place that don't work so well. But I think if you're business minded and you're passionate about your business, you will be like, oh, that's not working out so well, so here's my next idea, or, you know. And giving things time, I think, is really important in business. It's probably just a bit like riding, you know, not giving yourself a hard time straight away, giving yourself time to learn and develop, because life is a constant learning curve and anything you do. So yeah, I'd probably say that was my biggest challenge, is no sleep.
Now you're 13 years into your business.
Yeah.
Looking back on kind of the journey you've been through, is there anything that you would tell yourself to do differently?
Probably not give myself a hard time. I used to teach. Actually, this now goes back to what I said about eventing, when people come out of a ring and they give themselves a hard time. I used to do exactly the same. So I'd go and teach a class, and I'd get text messages from people going, "Oh my God, that was brilliant, really enjoyed it." And I'd be like, "Oh no, I didn't do that move quite right, or I didn't do this, or was so-and-so enjoying it at the back? Oh my God." So yeah, I used to give myself a very hard time, rather than just relaxing into what I'm doing and being like, actually, I enjoy this and I love my job so much. But yeah, I think I'm probably my worst critic for giving myself a hard time. But I'm like it with the ponies as well. I will very much give, like, I remember bathing Dinks. I did like a Dinks vlog for Tina. And he reared a little bit on his lead rope. I was mortified. I was like, oh my God, have I tied him up wrong? Oh my God, have I done this? Have I done that? And I give myself a hard time a lot. So I'm really trying in life not to do that, because ultimately he was fine. Doesn't matter if he has a little rear. I dealt with it. I took him off the lead rope. I grazed him. He was fine. So I think just trying to learn to relax probably would have been the thing that I would change.
Yeah. And for anyone who is watching who wants to set up their own business, would you have any advice?
Oh, I think you have to be passionate. I think passion comes in with it, and be prepared to put the work in, and believe in your idea, believe in what you want to do. And if you believe in it, it will be okay. I'm a strong believer in that. And I'm also a strong believer in what will be, will be. And sometimes things come into your life and different people come into your life for a reason. So I would say belief, passion, and be prepared to put in hard work. So I think a lot of people look at businesses and they're like, they don't realise what goes in behind it. They don't realise the hard work and the hours and the ideas and everything that goes in behind it. So yeah, I would say that. Passion, belief, and you can do it. Yeah.
This podcast is called Beyond the Stable,
Yeah.
so I want to know what you do beyond the stable, out with horses and work.
I don't have time. I'm Emily's personal assistant. So that's kind of what I do. I spend a lot of time with Emily. I adore Emily. We built up a lovely friendship, and I suppose her passion of the horses is my passion now. So outside of work, that is what I do. I love spending my weekends and doing things that we do down at the yard and going eventing, and the sporadic things she gets me to do, like travel to Wales on a Friday night because someone's doing an hour's talk that she wants to go to. And I'm the person that goes, yeah, I'll come. So yeah, that's what I do outside of my business is, the horses. And I've got animals myself. I've got a little chihuahua, which I enjoy going out on little walks with. And I've also got 2 cats as well. So, and my lovely husband. So yeah, I just doodle along like that, really. And my friends. I love my friends.
Lovely. My final question for you is, if I could get any guest on the podcast, who do you think I should get?
Who do I think you should get? Oh, I've got 2.
You give me
Can
2.
I say 2?
Yeah, of course you can.
Okay, so the first one is a girl called Keris Basher. And I don't think she knows who I am. I'm pretty confident she won't know who I am. She lives locally to us. She's only about maybe like 45 minutes. She's got a Instagram called Diary of My Dragon, and she's got a young racehorse that she is bringing on, and I just love her. She's so genuine. I don't even know her, but I love her already. She's so genuine, and she just seems really sweet. Like, she's down in like a yard on her own, and like sometimes I just feel like I want to message her and be like, do you need any help at your show today? Like, shall I go? And I might actually do that, I think. I have thought about it a few times. But then I think, well, she's probably got her own friends. She's going to be, who's this weirdo going, I'll come and groom for you. So her. And there is another guy, and there is a guy called Gareth Eva. He is one of the people that I met very early on in my little journey with the girls. He's a friend of Tina's, and he was just on the Machara All-Star Academy, actually, and I love him. He's only been riding for like 2 years, but he's done so well in the 2 years that he's been riding. He's got a lovely horse called Jack, and Gareth is very open. He's got ADHD. And I just absolutely adore Gareth. He is lovely. We see him at a lot of events. So I definitely think I would love to see him on your podcast. I'd love to know his story. Yeah.
Amazing. I'll definitely get in contact with those. They both sound like really, really good people.
Yay.
Thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome. Thanks so much. And I'm so glad you didn't ask me too many horsey questions. I was really worried. I was thinking, oh no, don't ask me anything technical.
What, do you think I was just going to quiz you?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, that was so good. Such a good episode. And I feel like you say, like, a lot of people that do watch, like, the podcast and, like, the girls' vlogs and stuff, they're not these top amazing riders. They are just people like us happy hackers who...
That's it. And I'm representing the happy hackers.
No, amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you guys for watching. If you're across on YouTube, then make sure you're subscribing and liking. If you're over on Spotify, make sure you're leaving us a review. And yeah, thank you again.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.